Same thing, you want to just kind of wet your roller a little bit. You don't have to get it soaking wet, just shake it out on a drop cloth. Make sure you don't sling the walls or anything. Spin it a couple of times. How to get the excess paint out of a roller. You have a 5-in-1 tool and it has a cutout here. You can also use it, a lot of the paint sticks you get, stir sticks, have the same cutout in the handle. Everybody always wonders what that's for, but it's actually for squeegeeing the paint out of a roller. Just push down and rotate the roller around and it gets about 95% of the paint out real quick. Go around a couple of times. Cost of paint, can't afford to be throwing paint away all the time. And then when I clean my rollers, take the thick of the paint off of my screen, stick it in the water, then I take my roller and I go up and down on it a couple of times. Kind of, if I'm inside and can't use a hose, and I get the thick of the paint out like this. Gets it off of the screen, and it also thins down the paint that's in the roller. Then I'll squeegee this again, just like so. I usually use the top edge of the screen as a little guide holder, whatever you want to call it. And I dip it a couple of times. As soon as I turn the roller over also, it gets more of the paint out of the other end. Just kind of drop it in a clean bucket. Let it kind of drip. Now what I have is a bucket of water, about this much, a bucket of dirty water that I poured into my paint bucket after I scraped it all out. I got another bucket over here with my roller dripping, and my roller, kind of the same thing. I've cleaned it up with the I squeegee it out and rinsed it out a couple times up here. And I'll just drop it off in the water. And I'll pull it out of the handle. I'll clean the handle off in my water. I don't have to get it perfect because I'm still using it. And I wouldn't be doing this if I was changing the color drastically. I would go ahead and start with all new. Or other equipment, or I'd gone downstairs to clean it out good with the garden hose. But since I'm not, it's very roughly the same color. I'm just trying to get the thick of the paint out, so it's not all dripping all over the place. And I'll set that in my other bucket. Then I'll squeegee this a couple more times after I've let it soak a little bit. In another video, I'll show you how I do it the fast way downstairs with the garden hose, but that's later on. I got it fairly clean now. I got things out of the bucket near the bottom. And that will get most of the water out of the roller. And I'll just set it back on the rack, the roller handle. I won't go all the way up. I'll leave the gaps a little bit. And let it just hang in the bucket. Any more water to drip out of there. So it'll be ready to use in about 15 minutes after I finish cleaning everything else up. Now that my roller's over here dripping, I want to clean most of the paint off of my all these things, tray, rack. I'm just kind of wiping it down with a damp rag, get the thick of it off. Normally I would take this outside with the garden hose and have it cleaned in just a few seconds. But, it's a lot of work running downstairs, so I can do this in just a couple minutes, no big deal. I got it fairly clean now. Now remember, I'm using roughly the same color. If I was changing the color drastically, I would definitely not do it this way. Starting my tray to drip. Now I'm going to clean my bucket out. This is my bucket I was using for rolling right here. And it's got the old dirty water in it. Just going to take my rag and kind of wipe around the inside. Just using a rag here. Now, I'm doing this on top of tile and not carpet. I got a drop cloth here. I don't want to drip spill too much because this is be real soupy. Even though it's, the drop cloth that's underneath, it will kind of go through. So you got to be careful about that. Anyway, I got the bucket fairly clean. And I clean myself up before I lose all my water and clean my rag again. I'm just going to dump all my water in with this and dump it down the toilet. Now I will remind you, this is water-based paint, it's not oil-based paint. I would never do this with oil-based paint. This is my bucket with all the trash water in it. Dump it down the toilet, then I'll rinse this out in the bathtub. I don't have to fill it up all the way, but just a little bit, sloshing around. And I'll pour this in the toilet as well. I got my rag just about dry, it's just damp, whatever. Same one I used before. And I'm wiping around the rim. Just to make sure I get all that paint off. I don't want to be getting it all over the place. And there you go, I got everything cleaned up, ready to start my next color. And you never want to leave this sitting in here, even though you dumped it, there's still going to be a little bit of paint, water mix, but make sure you give it a flush. You gotta sit there for a while, you'll have a paint ring inside the toilet, which you don't want. Everything's good to go.